Hello again to another Aga Calero React. Aga, that's me, that's Eric.
Hello, how you doing?
And every Friday he joins me in, well, it's not really a Friday for us, but every Friday on my channel he joins me in doing reactions with me. Most of the time it's something in relation to America, because
I'm from the United States.
Yeah. So, today we'll be watching Illegal in the US, Illegal in the World by Legal Eagle. We already did Legal Eagle reaction to Florida Man.
That's right.
Origins. Yeah. So, okay, let's go. Let's do it.
Welcome to America, the freest country in the entire world, which we know is true because it's a thing
America's a
that people
continent,
say.
not a country.
And you might actually believe that until you try to build housing somewhere or drink alcohol in public. But unfortunately, America is not the freest country in the world. In fact, according to some, it's barely in the top 20 freest countries. But the world is a diverse place, and one country's freedom is another country's criminal violation. And there are wide swaths of activities that are perfectly normal in other countries, but also very, very illegal in America. So today, let's look at some international liberties that could get you fined or locked up if you tried them stateside. And some of these foreign freedoms may surprise you. But let's start with a truly evil industrial product, one that actually specifically targets children.
Yeah.
I'm of course talking about Kinder Eggs. Now, we like to say that children are the future, and here in America, the moment we find out that something puts children in danger, legislators pull out all the stops to ensure that we try to keep our kids safe. And that's why America has stood firm to cracking down on a grave and terrible threat to children's health and safety posed
And it
by
just shows, remember I got
chocolate
one in like
Kinder Surprise eggs,
drugstore
which
in San
famously contain a
Francisco
yellow
on the first
capsule,
night we were there.
which
Did you?
contains
Yeah.
a small
I remember.
toy, have been a beloved staple for children around the world ever since the product's introduction in 1974 by Ferrero, an Italian company. But in the United States, these toy-filled treats have been classified as dangerous illegal contraband. And some background. In 1938, the U.S. passed the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which empowered government agencies to regulate food safety. And under consumer safety regulations issued by the FDA and the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the sale and distribution of any food with a, quote, non-nutritive object embedded is prohibited. And that includes toys found inside confectionery items. Now, although you can find Kinder Surprise eggs in Canada and Mexico,
That's why they're illegal.
don't try to bring them into the country or
Kids
you
trying to eat
risk
it.
serious fines.
You can't eat that though.
In 2011, the U.S.
I'm sure
Customs
kid
and
would.
Border
Yeah, but
Protection,
you know,
CBP,
it says as
seized
well
more
it's
than
for kids
60,000
older
Kinder
than 3
eggs
though.
from travelers' baggage and international
still.
mail shipments. More than
I can't
twice that
absolutely
number
understand
from
why.
2010.
It's just that
This
they're
caused
all.
the CBP to
It's
issue
a longer
press release
story
in
about it
2012,
than
warning people to try to
just
stop
pieces,
sneaking
you know?
chocolate eggs into the country. Quote, also known as Kinder Eggs, these chocolate treats may be cute and seasonal, but they are too dangerous to children to be
They're not
imported
seasonal.
legally into the U.S. The problem is the small plastic toy inside the Kinder Egg. While sold in many countries, this product is banned from the U.S. because young children can choke on it. Now, some people have argued that these Kinder Eggs are not a risk to European children and Canadian children because European and Canadian children are smarter than U.S. children. Now, a few months
not the
after the
reason, though.
CBP released that statement, a married couple from Seattle was detained at the Canadian border when the pair was caught with 6 Kinder Eggs from Vancouver. The couple was unaware that they were in possession of illegal ovarian contraband and was even more shocked that each egg carried a penalty of $2,500 per egg. Now, luckily for that couple, they were let off with a warning. But not to worry, American Kinder fans, because in 2018, Ferrero introduced a modified Kinder Joy egg that complies with U.S. regulations. Crucially, the Kinder Joy
Yeah,
is
you
not
have, like,
actually
two
an
halves.
egg-shaped chocolate. It's half a chocolate egg with wafer bits inside, while the toy is kept on the other side of the egg away
different
from
thing,
the
though.
edible bit, which I guess is suitable for hapless American children. And
I
despite
mean,
the
I used
fears
to
surrounding
love Kinder Eggs as a
there's
kid.
little evidence that
But
these
honestly,
chocolate
as an
delights
adult,
are
eating
as
the chocolate is
dangerous
just
as
like,
claimed. Now,
not that
there
great.
have been
Yeah.
some
I like other
reported
Kinder
child
products.
deaths between
But the
1989
Kinder Egg
and
is just,
2016, a relatively tiny number in the face of billions of eggs sold. And furthermore, the packaging warns parents that the eggs are not suitable for kids under the age of 3 and supervision is recommended. But let's not leave food-based illegality, because while Americans remain deeply divided on a wide variety of issues, there's one thing that most of us can agree on, and that's that life begins at cheese. Now, over the last 40 years, our love of cheese, much like our waistbands, has grown. Between 1977 and 2020, we Americans have increased our annual cheese consumption from 16 pounds to 40 pounds every year. And I'm probably responsible for
I would
about
believe
half
that you're
of
eating that here
So
too.
needless to
Yeah.
say, we Americans
I ate quite a
love
bit
our
of cheese.
cheese, whether it's on
Especially
pizza,
cheese blocks.
burgers,
Chew
or
on
in the
it.
form of 64 Jesus-infused slices of American cheese.
Have you been up all night eating cheese? I think I'm blind.
But if you're taking a cheese tour of the world, be careful what you bring back to the United States, because your love of cheese might just put you in legal jeopardy.
You guys enjoying that cheese? It's unpasteurized. It's illegal in this country.
In fact, many raw soft cheeses from France, like Bleu de Gex, Roquefort, or Reblochon, are illegal in the United States due to the FDA's strict cheese production regulations. Under these rules, cheeses made with raw, unpasteurized milk is illegal to import or sell in the United States unless it has been aged for at least 60 days. The reasoning is, of course, food safety, namely to minimize the risk of foodborne contagions like Listeria, Salmonella, and E. coli. And after 60 days, the acids and salts in raw milk cheese, coupled with the aging process, begin to naturally kill these types of harmful bacteria. But here's the thing. Anyone who has ever been to France knows that the cheese is so much better there. And it's not just raw cheese. The FDA has also cracked down on certain cheeses just because they contain too many live insects. That's the case with Casu Marzu, a traditional Sardinian sheep's milk cheese that's intentionally infested with live maggots. Casu Marzu, which literally means rotten cheese, gets its special flavor from being left to rot out among swarms of fly larvae. And while I'm told this hellish-looking cheese is actually quite delicious, it turns out that eating maggots is actually a tremendous health risk, earning the cheese the nickname the world's most dangerous cheese. And as a result,
Is that the
Casu
one?
Marzu is not only illegal in the
showed
US,
it
but
there.
in the
There's just
entire
The maggots in it?
European Union. But here's the thing. Anyone who has ever been to Sardinia knows the maggot-filled cheese is just so much better there. But the French have also been on the receiving
Compared to
end of
where?
the government's anti-bug eating crusade. In 2013, the FDA
Mimolette
angered American
cheese, yeah.
cheesophiles by blocking the import of French mimolette cheese just because the cheese is naturally infested with cheese mites. And while most cheesemakers consider the mites a nuisance, mimolette producers actually encourage the microscopic critters to burrow into the rind in order to help the cheese ripen and produce its distinctively sweet, earthy flavor. Mighty. But the FDA has determined that eating too many mites could cause an allergic reaction, resulting in the ban of the Gouda-like cheese. And though the FDA has no legal limit on cheese mites, the agency indicated a target of no more than 6 mites per square inch, which mimolette simply cannot meet. So what are the consequences of contraband cheese?
We got a tip about some food entering the country illegally?
No.
Well, the failure to declare food products on your customs forms can result in fines of up to $10,000, and your unlawful cheese will be seized. But be forewarned, there is a thriving black market for cheese in the United States, and illegal cheese is very much on the government's radar. The Department of Homeland Security, you know, the post-9/11 agency responsible for protecting the country from terrorism and Kinder eggs, has helped bust cheese smuggling rings into Canada. But unless you're a large-scale cheese smuggler, you're probably not looking at any jail time.
Wow, you got me. Good one. Making me think I was gonna die in federal prison and that's super funny. You scamps.
So worst case scenario, you're probably looking at a fine and suffering the ennui of eating your dry, cheeseless crackers alone. But let's leave the food world and get into something that probably makes a little bit more
Lone
sense.
darts?
Now, a
What's
source of
that?
pride for the baby
Something with
boomer
lone
generation
and darts?
is that everything was dangerous and no one seemed to care. Yes, that golden era where we lined our walls with cancerous asbestos, medical professionals smoked in hospitals, and people sold chemistry sets to children that contained real uranium. So of course, as a society, we
There
used to
was
let kids
like
hurl
uranium and
giant
stuff used to make
darts
face
into
kills
the
and
air
stuff
with
back then.
impunity and
I
call it
think
a
it's
national
good.
pastime. That's the story of lawn darts, which have been illegal in the United States since
Oh,
1988
that's
after being
literally
linked to
lawn
thousands of
darts.
injuries and the deaths of at least 3 children. Lawn darts, known as javelin darts, or jarts, was a popular lawn game in the mid-20th century. Gameplay was actually quite straightforward. Players would take turns tossing giant darts into a circle placed about 35 feet away, all a cornhole, but with giant razor-sharp darts raining down from the sky instead of soft beanbags. Now, unfortunately, throwing a giant metal dart is a tremendous safety hazard, and
I
government
guess.
regulators eventually began to take notice.
This isn't child's play, according to the Food and Drug Administration.
The US's first attempt to outlaw the game was strenuously opposed by jart manufacturers who fought the proposed FDA ban in court. In 1970, manufacturers actually won a compromise that would allow the sale of lawn darts so long as it was 1, only marketed to adults, and 2, the product was no longer sold in toy stores, and 3, the product contained warning labels alerting consumers to keep it out of the reach of children. But unfortunately, these compromise measures were insufficient to prevent tragedy for aerospace engineer David Snow. In April 1987, Snow's 7-year-old daughter, Michelle, was killed by a lawn dart thrown by one of her 9-year-old brother's playmates in the backyard of their home in Riverside, California. The dart hit her head with approximately 23,000 pounds of pressure per square inch, and Snow's daughter died 3 days later. The grieving father then made it his mission to lobby public officials to take lawn darts off the market for good. Snow brought his complaint to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, who were persuaded to investigate
Can't
Snow's
imagine
claims.
being a brother
The
now.
commission discovered
How
that over a
his life
period of
went.
8 years, lawn darts had sent 6,100 people to the emergency room. 81% of those cases involved kids aged 15 or younger, half were 10 or younger, and many had suffered permanent injury, disability, or even death. In 1988, Snow
Are they
prevailed
throwing
in his
them at each
crusade.
other?
The commission voted
Probably,
2-1
they're
to
kids.
prohibit the sale of all
And
lawn
that's sharp
darts,
stuff, and it's
had
big
them
too, look
removed
at it.
from stores in time.
This is not
for
small. I
next
understand why they
Christmas.
banned those.
And Canada also outlawed lawn
The thing
darts
is, like,
in
I
July
never
1989.
even
Now,
heard
if you
about
want
it
to play
before.
traditional lawn darts, you'll have to hop on a plane and visit the European Union, where the game is still legal. But here in the U.S.,
I don't
you
know
can find
where.
a legal version with a modified plastic blunt tip that
Yeah, there you
replaces
go.
the sharp metal tip, because that makes quite a lot more sense. But that takes us to something that's arguably even more dangerous: smoking. Now, for most of the 20th century, cigarette smoking
was
was
it cloves
glorified
in
as
there?
the ultimate
Yeah.
embodiment of
I was
the
smoking
American
clothes as a
West.
teenager.
Things like tough guys, rebels without a
Smoking?
cause. In advertising,
Yeah.
doctors endorsed their
Cloves?
favorite brands,
Yeah.
while we were told that
Clove
women
cigarettes.
found smoking
Yeah,
men
sweet taste to 'em.
irresistible. But this image of health and
Okay.
sex appeal slowly began to change starting in 1964 after the U.S. Surgeon General stated definitively
taking
that yes,
cloves as a
smoking
spice?
tobacco can be
It's
fatal.
used in, like,
And
cooking?
research shows
so.
that flavored cigarettes largely appeal to and are disproportionately used by those under 18 years of age.
That is not how to inhale, Bobby. You're hotboxing it.
So, to help combat youth smoking, in 2009, the FDA banned the sale of flavored cigarettes, including cloves, cinnamon, candy, and fruit flavors, pursuant to the Family Smoking Prevention and Control Act. Though menthol cigarettes were exempted from the ban, as well as non-cigarette tobacco products like electronic cigarettes, cigars, smokeless tobacco, and hookah. But the U.S. is not alone here,
How
as
is
countries with
smokeless
policies
tobacco
banning
made?
some or all types of flavored cigarettes,
Jesus, I'm learning
include
a lot of
Canada,
new things.
Brazil, Ethiopia, Uganda, Senegal,
Guess that's what it is
Niger,
when you're not smoking.
Mauritania, and 28 member states of the European Union, Moldova, Turkey, and Singapore. As for everyone else, well, not only are flavored cigarettes completely legal in the vast majority of countries, but the U.S. ban on cloves actually created an international incident. In April 2010, Indonesia, the world's top producer of clove cigarettes and the source of the vast majority of those smoked in the U.S., filed a trade dispute with the World Trade Organization. In its claim, Indonesia argued that the U.S. ban illegally discriminated against foreign products of flavored tobacco and created an unlawful advantage for domestic tobacco manufacturers. In September 2011, the WTO agreed,
Yeah,
finding that
actually,
the ban was
I'm sorry,
indeed
I'm gonna
discriminatory
pause
because
this
it
because
prohibited
it was saying there. The World Trade Organization on Wednesday dealt a blow to the US law barring the sale of clove-flavored cigarettes to discourage children from smoking.
Well, I smoked it before I was 18.
Yeah,
as soon as I
me
turned 18,
too,
I
but
just stopped
no,
smoking.
but this is just like this is just clove-flavored cigarettes to discourage children from smoking.
Yeah.
If you're doing that just to discourage children from smoking, why don't you just ban all of the cigarettes?
True.
You know, it's just I get.
Well,
I'm-
they stopped
and created an
commercials.
unlawful
Like,
advantage
I
for
remember Marlboro
domestic
commercials and
tobacco
Camel commercials
manufacturers.
as a kid.
In September 2011, the WTO agreed, finding that the ban was indeed discriminatory because it prohibited clove cigarettes while allowing the sale of American menthol cigarettes. The opinion was affirmed on appeal in 2012. This ruling gave Indonesia the right to retaliate until either the U.S. changed its law to comply or the two sides reached a settlement. And in 2014, the two countries reached a final settlement on the issue, ending their dispute. Under the settlement, the U.S. agreed it would not arbitrarily discriminate against certain Indonesian tobacco products and promised to work with Indonesia on other trade issues. Now, a decade after the flavored tobacco ban, public health advocates seem to have been vindicated. A 2020 study published in the Journal of Adolescent Health found that the flavor ban was effective at reducing cigarette use among young people. In April of 2022, the FDA took additional steps against flavored tobacco products by proposing a ban on the sales of menthol cigarettes and all flavored cigars. In his proposal, the FDA argued that these actions had the potential to reduce disease and death by, quote, reducing youth experimentation and addiction and increasing the number of smokers that quit. Public comments will continue through July of 2022, but Kinder Surprise eggs are already banned, so the hard work has already been accomplished. But that takes us to the next American illegality, something you potentially might do every
You
single
don't want to
year.
jaywalk in front of police
Now,
officers.
if you were an American
Give you a
pedestrian
reason to
in
stop you.
1903, crossing the street was a very simple endeavor. If you wanted to cross the street, you would just walk across the street. Before the introduction of cars, roads were seen as a public space that all citizens had a right to occupy, even children at play. But today, if you try and cross the street without using a crosswalk or cross the street when the traffic light is flashing do not walk, well, congratulations, you have committed the crime of jaywalking. Now, across the pond, some of our European allies have taken a more laissez-faire attitude towards jaywalking by making it totally legal. They just call it walking. Now, for example, there are no laws against jaywalking in Norway. The same goes for the UK, meaning that the Beatles didn't need to use the crosswalk for their famous Abbey Road cover. And the Netherlands used to have laws against jaywalking, but repealed these statutes in 1995 to simplify the traffic code and give pedestrians more freedom. In these countries, your right to cross the street freely shall not be infringed. But here in the United States, we've taken a more punitive approach to walking. Now, every year, cities like Los Angeles issue tickets to tens of thousands of pedestrians for jaywalking, which includes fines worth up to $200.
No,
but this was not always the case.
Shut up.
In fact, ticketing someone for jaywalking is a relatively young concept in the United States. According to University of Virginia historian Peter Norton, the notion of jaywalking, with jay being an early 20th century slur for someone stupid or unsophisticated, was introduced by a group of auto industry aligned groups in the 1920s as part of a concerted pro-car, anti-pedestrian propaganda campaign. But when cars were first introduced, there were few crosswalks painted on the street. Pedestrians generally ignored the ones that existed because they didn't need to. But as cars became more widely available, pedestrian deaths skyrocketed, with hundreds of thousands of Americans, many children, being killed in car crashes for the first few decades of the 20th century. So to counter all this negative publicity, auto industries sought to enact traffic laws that would shift blame from drivers and their cars to the pedestrians themselves. And it worked. Not only did cities and states begin criminalizing jaywalking, but the US government supported the anti-pedestrian propaganda campaign by ridiculing jaywalkers and placing blame on them for automobile crashes. And today, some criminal justice advocates believe jaywalking should be decriminalized altogether. But as an aside, you should all go watch Not Just Bikes and get orange pilled, because it's kind of stupid that we've ceded all of this real estate to cars for both driving and parking, when cities should be
I've watched
for the
some
people
of his
themselves.
videos.
But,
Very good too.
I'll get down off of my soapbox. And while it might sound
He was staying, I think, in
counterintuitive,
Houston,
countries
and he
that
was
allow
trying to get somewhere
jaywalking
walking.
tend to have lower traffic
It's
deaths
really
as
dangerous.
pedestrians tend to
There's
cross
no,
more
like,
safely and
sidewalks,
when they
nothing
are
like that
worried
then.
about criminal
So-
penalties. And criminal justice advocates point out that jaywalking laws have a very disparate impact, with tickets not evenly applied and enforcement disproportionately targeting people of color. So far in 2021, Virginia has heeded this call by becoming the first and so far only state to decriminalize jaywalking, and a similar bill to decriminalize jaywalking was vetoed by California's Governor Gavin Newsom in 2021. So for better or worse, if you want to stay on the straight and narrow in 49 of the US states, you'd better be sure to look both ways and stay in the crosswalk every time, for now. Okay, so maybe America isn't the freest country in the world after all, but you can take a stand for your right to exclusive content with today's sponsors, Nebula and CuriosityStream. On Nebula, my videos always come out early and with zero ads, and I release exclusive content all the time, like a video on the things that people misunderstand about the Constitution, why NFTs are bad for creators, anti-SLAPP laws, my first full-length documentary, Bad Law Words Good, and tons more. All exclusive to Nebula. It's truly the rarest Kinder Egg. And my friends post exclusive content to Nebula all the time as well, like Real Engineering's entire D-Day series, and Half as Interesting's Crime Spree, where they try to break as many silly laws across the US as possible. All of this exclusive content is available only on Nebula, which you can get for free with CuriosityStream. Because Nebula is creator-owned and creator-operated. And by the way, we've been developing Nebula like crazy. Nebula now has apps for iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, Android TV, and it was recently nominated for its first Streamy Award. And my fellow creators and I really care about Nebula, and we're thrilled to be partnering with CuriosityStream because they are the go-to source for the best documentaries and long-form educational content on the internet. And they even have an entire section devoted to unsolved mysteries and crime. So if you like my videos, you'll love the thousands of titles on CuriosityStream. And the best way to get access to Nebula and all of the incredible content is through the amazing CuriosityStream Nebula bundle deal, with its current sales price of less than $15 a year to get full access to both sites. And to be clear, that Nebula subscription is not a trial, it's free for as long as you're a CuriosityStream member. There just isn't a better deal in streaming where you get two great streaming sites with content you'll actually watch and enjoy for less than $15 a year at the current sales price. But what's more, signing up will actually help countless independent educational creators beyond just Legal Eagle. So sign up now by clicking on this button that's on screen right now, or you can click on the link that's down below in the description. It's a great way to support educational content and get tons of exclusive content that you'll love. So click on these links right now. Or you can click on this playlist over here with all of my other YouTube videos. So click on this link, or I'll see you in court.
fears in court. Yay.
It's a funny guy.
It is fun, yeah. The videos are good. What do you think about it? Did something surprise you?
The cheese.
The
Cheese with
cheese?
maggots in it. Oh my gosh. Glad that's illegal in the United States.
What?
I would never try it, even though I'm here. Never. Never, never, never.
Well, it's not here. I don't think, you know. But I don't know. It's just that's what it is. That's what they do there.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't try it either. Especially if I still see those maggots. But it's an extra protein source.
It is. And then jaywalking is a good revenue for law enforcement. You know, give out
I
tickets.
think they have plenty of revenues already there in America.
Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're about to miss your bus, you're not going to walk all the way down the street. Use the crosswalk, walk all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
Wait for the bus stop.
Did you
See a
jaywalk
bus
in
coming?
America?
Oh, yeah. See a bus coming, you run for it. So,
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. And now we're gonna jump into stuff that's legal in America but illegal also in other places. So,
yes,
wonder if
and
that's
you'll see
gonna
that video
super-
next week.
I
Yeah.
wonder if we're gonna surprise us as much.
We shall see.
Thanks. We'll see you tomorrow. And see you, Eric, next week on Friday.
Next week.
Bye.
Bye.